Hello, our dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our program, Africa Today. Over 40 million people across Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are already on the verge of starvation, about half of them children. The number will rise to 20 million by September 2022 if the rains continue to fail, prices continue to rise, and the world leaders don't boost the aid funding to meet the needs of the people in the crisis. Even in the best case scenario, above average rains ending the dry spell, it would take months for people to recover. At this stage, an immediate scale up in humanitarian response is the only option left to prevent a catastrophic death toll. More details in the following story.
Egypt and the African Union are seeking to develop a unified vision for energy transformation in the continent ahead of the 27th UN Conference of the Parties COP27 on climate change, slated for November in the Egyptian Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh. The joint vision is set to be submitted during the annual climate event, according to a statement by the Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources. The statement was issued following a meeting in Cairo between Minister of Petroleum Tariq Al-Molla and Amani Abu Zaid, EU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy. Al-Molla said that Egypt and the EU should cooperate towards a unified African position on fair energy transition ahead of COP27. He stressed the necessity of providing the large and growing needs of African countries to help achieve sustainable development. Egypt has vowed to speak for Africa's aspirations in addressing climate change at the COP27. Abu Zaid said African countries should enhance cooperation, particularly in the field of energy, given the fundamental role of this sector in achieving stability and development. While asserting that oil and gas are important sources of energy for African countries that contribute to sustainable development, she noted the importance of transitioning to renewable energy sources as per a timetable that corresponds to the conditions and priorities of each country. The EU Commissioner urged developing a unified African strategy for energy transformation, underscoring the importance of supporting integration among African countries to secure energy sources through integrated systems. She added that these would contribute to opening new markets and exploiting all available economic opportunities. Hopes are pinned on COP27 to turn climate-related pledges into action to move to green energy to reduce harmful gas emissions and global warming and adapt to climate change as per the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement, adopted at COP21 and signed by over 190 states, including Egypt, came into effect in 2016 with the aim of limiting the rise in temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Climate finance has been debated at every COP meeting since developed countries failed to meet their promise to mobilize $100 billion annually by 2020 to help developing nations with mitigation and adaptation measures.
نحن لدينا مصير مشترك.
مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية لتحقيق الاستقرار والتقدم ودفع عجلة التنمية قدما. إذا كنتم ترغبون في تغيير وجه القارة الأفريقية، فالاتحاد الإفريقي كقيادة تستطيع أن تعمل وتدرس بشكل مركزي لمشروع عملاق لبناء بنية أساسية على مستوى القارة. أنا أتصور أن الأمن والاستقرار استثمار. إذا لم تستقر هذه القارة والأمن فيها بمعدلاته عالية، هذا الأمر سينعكس بالسلب علينا كلنا.
And that was our report about Egypt and the African Union, which are seeking to develop a unified vision for energy transformation in the continent ahead of the 27th UN Conference of the Parties COP27 on the climate change, slated for November in Sharm el-Sheikh. To shed more light on that, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Jilan Mahmoud Abdelrazik Sharaf, Dean of the Faculty of Media and Communication Technology, Suez University, as well as the former Secretary General of the Volunteers for Climate Adaptation. Dr. Jilan, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you and to all your audience.
Thank you very much. Dr. Jilan, Egypt is actually preparing for the climate change, the COP27 summit, which will be taking place next November in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. The country aspires to be the voice of Africa in the summit and highlight the impact of the climate change on Africa. What is your take on this?
Because, you know, we are the voice of Africa. If we refer back to 2015 and 2017, we will find that President Sisi was the president of the Committee of the African countries and government for the climate change. And at that time, there were two initiatives. One initiative is African Initiative for Climate Adaptation. Also, there's another one, which is African Initiative for Renewable Energy. This means that we are responsible of Africa. As you know, Africa is suffering from climate change. In spite, it's not part of this crisis. We are not one of the countries, or the African countries are not the cause or the reason of this pollution or this greenhouse emission. But as you know, that Egypt believes that we are responsible of defending the African countries, and this was since Paris Agreement 2015. That's why it's very important to point out the importance that the African continent have the right for developing, have the right to keep their raw materials. At the same time, they have the right for justice climate change.
Yes. Doctor, the universality of the climate change has prompted Egypt to implement actually a sustainable development model centered on increasing the green projects to 50% by the year 2025 and by 100% by 2030. Would you please elaborate on Egypt's plan to achieve these important goals?
Let's point out something very important, that Egypt implemented the National Strategy for Climate Change last May. And this was a cooperation among the ministers of the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Petroleum and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Industry and Trade, and Ministry of Planning and Reforming Development. And this strategy was focusing on different points of how we are going to make benefit of this COP27 in investment in Egypt, and also we would be responsible in investment in Africa, because we are planning to have no carbon, to zero carbon. That means that there will be investment in the projects related to green hydrogen. And this is also that there is a plan that the area at the Suez Canal Economic Zone, it will also be a zone for logistics and producing green hydrogen, which means that we are planning that by this year, by the coming 2050, that we have no carbon, and all the investment should be within this area. Of the green project technology, to use the technology to change, also to make benefit of the waste, to change them into something we can use it for renewable energy. As you know, we have different areas that we are producing now energy from solar, from wind, and so on. So this is very important issues that will be discussed also on COP27, and giving the chance for all the investors to invest in this area.
Yes. Dr. Jailan, Egypt has issued the first offering of the green bonds with a value of 750 million US dollars. What are the green bonds and how does this help with the issue of fighting the climate change?
The green bonds will give the opportunity for all the investments that they will invest in Egypt in green projects, as I mentioned. That means that you are going not to use the coal or not use any energy that will waste, make waste. That means that you are going, there will be different projects that you are going to give the opportunity for the investors to invest in it. We have different areas. For example, we can extract ethanol, which is alcohol, from the beet. That means that you can extract this from green, from agriculture. We are going to have investment in agriculture. We can change the touch of the rice. We can use it in manufacturing or producing the artificial wood, which is called HDMF or MDF. Instead of exporting it from abroad, we can manufacture it in Egypt, and then we can also import it to other countries. So this is an investment. Also, we can invest in different areas that will be on the table at COP27 for the investments, for the investors to know what we can do in order to reach good investment in Egypt, as also we are going to be exporters instead to be importers. So this is a great point done since 2019, and we are pioneer in this area that we already issued this green bond. That means that we are going to invest in green projects.
Dr. Jailan, also the renewable energy sources represent actually 20% of the energy mix, and the country is working on increasing it to reach 42%. How could that be achieved, and what are the country's plans to press forward with this?
As we all know that we have now a plan, a mega project in Bamban. Bamban is where in Aswan, where we are producing renewable energy. Also, we have already started to change from using the petrol or gas to use the natural gas. And also, we have extracting the new energy from solar and from the wind. So these all steps have been taken by the government, that steps taken from since years, approximately 8 years, that we should step forward to have a renewable energy instead of petrol or gas or the coal, because this will help us also in to be healthy and also to invest in the green projects. And we'll let people, also we can export it to other countries. We now have 2 great plants for electricity.
Yes.
And this also, we can export electricity to our neighbors, as well as we can make benefit of the extracting of natural gas, and we can use it. Even we invest in it by exporting it, and also that inside the country, locally, by that the people will change from using petrol to change of fueling their cars by natural gas. So this is also will be more benefit on both healthy and economically.
Yes. How has the climate change actually affected negatively the African continent, the greatest bearer actually, unfortunately, of the climate impact? And how has the climate change's impact been evident on the African states this year in particular, Dr. Jailan?
Yes, because as you know, that we are not we are developing countries. The African countries are suffering from unsustainable food, from unsustainable production. We have the raw materials, but we don't make benefit of it, of the know-how of how to be productive. So this is the chance that also we, from the as the developed countries promised to give the donation of $100 million for the African countries, because they need to develop themselves. They need to save the raw materials, but not. This is also a chance for us that we start to manufacture, we start to make products, not to export these raw materials to the other countries. No, we should have the know-how. We should start to be producers, not consumers. We start to use our lands, to plant our lands, because we have fertilized soil.
Yeah.
So we should make this negative impact of the climate change to be positive to the African countries.
Yes.
That means that the promise of the developed countries to give the donation to the African countries should be done within COP27, and we should have the know-how of how to be a producers and start to export products instead of exporting these products from abroad. And this is very important now within the what happened after COVID-19, and also due to the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. And now the Europeans are suffering from the lack of food and as well as the lack of gas. So this is now, it's our time to take benefit of this in order that we can boom and not to...
Indeed, Dr. Jaylan Mahmoud Abdelrazek Sharaf, Dean of the Faculty of Media and Communication Technologies with University, as well as the former Secretary General of Volunteers for Climate Adaptation. Thank you very much for being our guest for today. And over 14 million people across Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are already on the verge of starvation. About half of them children. The number will rise to 20 million by September 2022. If the rains continue to fail, prices continue to rise, and the world leaders don't boost aid funding to meet the needs of the people in crisis.
50 million people in Eastern Africa will face acute food insecurity this year, according to a new study backed by the World Food Programme, WFP, and Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. Issued by the region's Intergovernmental Authority on Development, the IGAD Regional Focus on Food Crisis report sounds the alarm over escalating food insecurity and malnutrition in Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. Shimimba David Fury, FAO Sub-Regional Coordinator for Eastern Africa, said that the current food security situation across the Horn of Africa is dire after 4 consecutive rainy seasons have failed, a climatic event not seen in at least 40 years or since the beginning of the satellite era. Fury added that now more than ever, they must implement short-term livelihood-saving responses with long-term resilience building aimed at addressing the root causes of food crises in the region. This year, about 300,000 people in Somalia and South Sudan are projected to face the highest level of the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Scale, Level 5, meaning an extreme lack of food, with the risk of famine occurring in 8 areas of Somalia should widespread crop and livestock production fail. The 2022 situation marks a dramatic increase from last year, when 42 million people suffered from high levels of acute food insecurity. In 2021, the IGAD region accounted for nearly 22% of the global number of people in crisis or worse, IPC phase 3 or above, with an estimated 10 million children under 5 suffering from acute malnutrition. In addition, 24% of the world's 51 million internally displaced were also in IGAD countries, mainly Ethiopia, Somalia, and Sudan. A combination of climate extremes, conflict, and macroeconomic challenges are making multiple shocks nearly impossible to cope with. Climate change and La Nina have caused an unprecedented multi-season drought punctuated by one of the worst March to May rainy seasons in 70 years. Acknowledging that there is a very real risk of famine in the region, Michael Dunford, WFP Regional Director for Eastern Africa, underscored the importance of preparing for and responding to future shocks, which he said are increasingly inevitable because of changing climate. Meanwhile, the UN team in Uganda is working closely with authorities and other partners to scale up the response to food insecurity, which is currently impacting more than 500,000 people in the country's northeast. More than 40% of the population in this area has been facing high levels of acute food insecurity in the last 5 months, in part due to a climate change-induced drought.
Well, with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching.